It's amazing.
Good morning. I'm going to call to order this November 4th, 2025 regular commissioners meeting. Are there any adjustments to the agenda?
I'm going to move to accept the agenda as presented with the following deletion by UT monthly report and add after the approval of minutes, sheriff's request to hire Dylan Pong of Franklin for the position of deputy patrol deputy at step A on the patrol union wage scale with the start date effective November 29th, 2025.
Where are you going to put that?
Put it just after the approval of the minutes.
I'll second that.
Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Public comments. Anybody here this morning or online wishing to make a public comment? June, you see anybody?
Courtney Mead has a question.
Yep, the chair will recognize Courtney Need.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Courtney Mead, and I live in Bucksport. I wanted to thank you for tasking our county administrator with forming an opioid settlement advisory committee here in Hancock County, and for the way you've welcomed community involvement in this process. I really appreciate your time and commitment to this issue that impacts so many in our county. In support of Mr. Crooker's work, I've been reviewing how other Maine counties and municipalities are allocating their opioid settlement funds. Penobscot and Aroostook counties, as well as the city of Bangor, have launched RFP processes to fund community projects. Oxford County recently awarded funds to 5 organizations following a similar process. Earlier this year, Rockland's Opiate Settlement Funds Advisory Committee allowed residents to vote on which projects would receive funding, and Augusta's committee is now developing its own approach. Across the state, opioid settlement funds are supporting recovery housing, peer support, rental assistance, reintegration, and prevention programs, ensuring resources reach the people and programs that need them most. Opioid settlement funds represent a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to bolster recovery, treatment, prevention, and harm reduction efforts in our county. These funds can be used to strengthen essential services, expand access to support, and help build more stability for people in Hancock County. Using them intentionally and in a timely way can make a real difference in people's lives and in the overall health of our communities. Statewide opioid settlement distributions will begin to decline in 2025, with most of the available funds front-loaded in the early years. According to current budget documents, the $130,000 opioid settlement allocation to the county jail in the 2025 budget remains unspent. With this in mind, I respectfully urge the commissioners to consider a more conservative allocation of $200,000 in opioid settlement funds for the county jail in the upcoming budget. While I strongly support access to FDA-approved medications for opioid use disorder and mental health services within our jail, I also encourage the commissioners to preserve a meaningful portion of these limited funds for community-based initiatives. The effectiveness of our OSF advisory committee and the long-term impact of this settlement depend on maintaining resources for future years. By reserving funds now, we can continue to invest in programs that keep people safe, supported, and connected across our communities. Thank you again for your time, leadership, and dedication to Hancock County.
Thank you. Is there anybody else? Hearing none, we'll move on to approval of minutes.
I'm going to move to approve the minutes of the October 21st, 2025 Commissioner Special Meeting as presented.
I'll second that.
Discussion, hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Now we'll have a discussion this morning on hiring deputy. As I explained to Michael, when Sheriff's Office has to have this put on the agenda, there was preliminary work that needed to be done before we do this. First of all, the budget needs to be substantially altered to pay for the effort that you voted to do for the new deputy. Second of all, Josh and I have been talking, and really Josh would like to see you get going on this project, though it's of altering our hiring practice to require commissioner approval for offering conditional offers and deciding when conditional offers should be appropriate, when they are necessary, and that process through there. And I think the under the situation that the sheriff's department is proposing right now, hiring this new deputy, and I think it's appropriate for us to see a conditional offer to him instead of employing him, a conditional offer detailing what is expected of him in order to attain employment. And so what I'd like to do this morning is simply put off any action on hiring him with the idea that we'll, later in the meeting, we'll alter the budget to reflect the coverage of this position. And then Josh will present at the next meeting, hopefully, a conditional offer of employment listing the requirements that this young man will have to fulfill before being considered for full-time employment.
Commissioners, in respects to Commissioner Clark's point, we already offer conditional offer of employments that have many different stipulations that they must complete. In addition to that, as the hiring checklist that was approved by you by the commission months back, we have already completed that to satisfaction as well and submitted that to the Human Resource Department as well. We have met those checks and balances that you had set forward. So this is just another obstacle that is being presented to us. We really would like to have this discussion surrounding this position, and we do believe that there is no alterations to the budget that is needed in order to fund these positions. Furthermore, I'd like to take a couple minutes of your time to really highlight this position as a whole and to ask for your action on it to reaffirm your vote last week. Your vote last week authorized us to do such. However, we are now looking to put that name in the position. With that being said, I want to take a few minutes to address some of the statements that were made during the last meeting that I disagreed with.
Is this really, excuse me, is this really necessary? You have affirmed this deputy. There is no obstruction to hiring this deputy. There's just a process that should be followed in order to get it. Now, you've already heard this, you've already proved it, and I don't understand why he thinks I'm obstructing. What I'm trying to do is set the stage so that we can hire a man, be funded by the budget, and we have a process in place that so we don't have to terminate an employee who failed to meet the condition like we did here just recently. All I'm trying to do is avoid that.
If you let me speak, you
I'm
find
telling you that.
that the funding already is there.
Funding isn't properly there. The funding is not properly in that budget. First of all, this deputy should not be in 46, it should be in 10. So I mean, they're start with the funding.
The deputy would be in Department 10.
They don't have enough money in 10.
We have in excess of money.
You don't, not in your 26 budget. You
In
do
20,
not.
you're correct. You are correct. That's the big misconception here that you've been illustrating. What this position would do is we would hire them now. They would be paid for out of Department 10 with the excess funds that were budgeted in 2025 due to those two additional positions that never came to fruition.
You don't
So-
have enough money in 26.
I understand that. In 2026, we have the funds that were approved by supermajority in Department 46 to pay for the agent at Maine Drug Enforcement Agency.
And this agent should not be paid, this new deputy should not be paid out of 46.
Commissioner Clark, let me finish. This new position right now that you would be approving, that we would be putting a name to the vote from last week is not going to be paid out of Department 46. It's going to be paid out of Department 10. The staffing levels in Department 10 are not changing. You are simply moving one individual to Department 46 where the funds are already budgeted, and you are backfilling a position in Department 10. It's not a creation of any new positions. The funding is already there.
And that's not correct. Because first of all, you're not going to transfer existing deputy January 1st to the drug task force. You're going to have to train the new deputy first, which is going to take 6 months to get him through the process of the academy, get him through field training, and get ready for him to be fully certified so he can take over for the deputy you're transferring into NTI. So what you're going to have is you're going to have an existing deputy who's going to be there for 8 months out of Department 10. He will transfer, Labor Day, we'll say, and then the new deputy will take over and be paid from his funds for the rest of the year. So you need 8 months worth of new funding in Department 10. If you don't understand that,
That is not our intentions at all.
I don't care what your intentions are. If you want to hire a deputy and you want to train him, then he's going to have to be in Department 10. He's going to have extra funds, and then we're going to have to reallocate funding in 46.
Is this not operational?
What do you mean by that?
Is this not operational? We are looking to assign an individual to the main drug enforcement agency. As we've stated, they would begin on January
No, they
1st.
wouldn't. They will not go January 1st because you don't have a deputy to replace that agent January 1st.
We are hired, our position is to put a person in that position
He's
today.
not
Put him in.
ready, he's not ready to take over for a deputy for 6 or 8 months. You're gonna have a vacancy because he's not trained, he hasn't been in the academy, he hasn't passed field training. You're talking about a 6 or 8 month process that you're gonna have to put this deputy through before you can transfer an existing deputy in the NDA, or you're gonna be shorthanded. Now, if being shorthanded, an agent is more important than being shorthanded, then
We are looking to operationally assign our deputies as we see needed for the department while accomplishing our mission.
you
And we
understand what he's
believe,
saying, gentlemen? He's gonna take a deputy from the existing department, January 1st, put him in the, he's gonna have a vacancy in that department because he does not have a deputy to replace the existing deputy for 6 or 8 months because the new one he's hiring hasn't been to the academy, hasn't been trained, hasn't gone through field training, and won't be available to be fully certified till Labor Day.
so
If that's okay with you, tell him right now, we can stop this discussion right now.
in order to hire a new deputy, you're correct, you have to train them, which is why we're looking to do that now, to get a start on that ahead of that. Now, with that being said, yes, I understand that they are going to have to be trained. Same as almost all new hires, they gotta go through some level of training. Now, with that being said, we are fully aware of what we are looking to intend to do. We feel that operationally, once again, it is something that we can do. It does not change our staffing levels from what we are currently running with at the very moment, so it will not change staffing in that respect. To us, this is not we are looking for a seamless transition, and this is just another hurdle that is being thrown our way. We were told that once you go full staff, we'll be able to do this. Well, you know what? We are looking to do that. In addition to that, your opposition has been clear right from the very beginning. It was clear at the meeting last week. It was clear when you went to the BAC and advocated for them to pull the plug and at the last meeting and overturn their vote, and it's clear today. With this all being said, I want to address a few things that were discussed. First, let's go back to the last meeting. During that, Commissioner Clark made 2 statements that I want to clarify. The first comment was that the main drug enforcement agency, Down East Task Force, which specifically handles drug investigations in Hancock County, was fully staffed with 3 agents. I disagreed with that statement. Based on my experience having served as part of that task force, the complement for the past decade or the better part thereof has consistently been 4 agents. To provide clarity and context to that, in 2017, that was Jake Day and Shane Campbell. In 2018, Jake Day and Eric McLaughlin. 2019, Jake Day, Eric McLaughlin. 2020, Jake Day, David Lord. 2021, Jake Day, David Lord. 2022, that was myself, along with another budgeted agent position. Same for 2023. That vacancy in 2022 and 23 was not due to the lack of funding, but rather due to staffing shortages at that time. In addition to that, the second comment I want to address was Commissioner Clark's statement that the Maine State Police may be assigning another trooper to the Down East Task Force. That statement was whether intentional or not, appeared to be made in an effort to persuade you other commissioners to not support the sheriff's office in filling that agent position. After that meeting last week, I personally spoke with the Maine State Police command staff who made it very clear they have no intentions whatsoever of assigning another individual / another trooper to the Down East Task Force. They already have an individual assigned there as an agent. Following last week's meeting where Commissioner Clark once again voiced his opposition to the sheriff's office participating in drug enforcement, he attended the Budget Advisory Committee and asked them to pull the plug and overturn that vote. That brings us to today. Once again, Commissioner Clark is opposing the drug task force. Whether he wants to say this now, he made the same accusations and the same assertions last year as well. When the sheriff's office submitted an individual's name for the hire on today's agenda, that item was removed at his request. And he's going to say, as he did, that it's budgeting concerns and that he hopes to address that today. Okay, well then let's address that. While I strongly disagree with that reasoning, if there's a desire to discuss the budget, I'm more than willing to do so. However, there's no reason that we can't also address the agenda item that was submitted, which is hiring that vacancy that will be created. So we can move forward with the filling of the main drug enforcement agent position in the sheriff's office. Now let's talk about that funding. Commissioner Clark stated in the Budget Advisory Committee last Wednesday that this position would increase the budget by approximately $100,000. Simply not accurate. By approving this position today, you are authorizing the use of already budgeted funds in 2025 budget to hire the patrol deputy listed that we had submitted for the agenda. We have more than enough funds available in our 2025 wage line to cover that expense. Looking ahead in 2026, the Budget Advisory Committee has already approved sufficient funds by supermajority, both in expenditures and projected revenues to support this position being discussed. In preparation for this meeting, I also sat down with other county officials to assure that the funds were available late last week to review the budgeted funds. I did so because I anticipated this very discussion. And if you don't believe me, you can also ask them as well. If there are still doubts about the staffing levels of the Drug Task Force, the Down East Drug Task Force, the supervisory agent, Chris Jordan, is here today. He can confirm the details that I presented to you. Additionally, Commander Brandon Vafiatis from the Maine Drug Enforcement Agency is also attending via Zoom and can also verify this information. Everything that I presented, whether it's been disputed or not, has been facts, and you have the ability to confirm that right now. Finally, I spoke with the commander of the Maine State Police and the Northern Field Troop, who though unable to attend today due to personal reasons, authorized me to state that the state police have no intentions on assigning another trooper to the Down East Drug Task Force. As I said last week, the statement that the sheriff's office wants representation in the Drug Task Force is absolutely accurate, and I stand by that. As the county's primary law enforcement agency, it is vital that we are an active stakeholder in the Drug Task Force that serves Hancock County directly. Other agencies have recognized this same importance. The Bar Harbor Police Department participates in the Drug Task Force. The Ellsworth Police Department participates in the Drug Task Force. The Maine State Police participate in the Drug Task Force. The Washington County Sheriff's Office assigns 2 agents to the Drug Task Force. The Penobscot County Sheriff's Office assigns agents to their Drug Task Force. Everyone else sees the value and the need. So the question becomes, why are we even having this argument? The funding is there. Why is there opposition? For years, the county funded 2 agents without issue. Now we're asking to fund half of an agent, and we're suddenly facing objections and things surfacing repeatedly. As I mentioned previously, you'd be hard-pressed to find anyone in this county who does not support efforts to combat the drug problem. Enforcement alone won't solve the problem. I'll agree with that, but neither will prevention and treatment alone. It needs to be a 2-pronged approach. It takes both. We must address both the supply and the demand. And if we fail to stop the importation and distribution of drugs into Hancock County, then those struggling with addiction will never stand a fair chance either. The Sheriff's Office sincerely appreciates the support shown by the commissioners last week in the voting to fund this and move forward with this position, something that's been in the works for a while. I'm here today asking you to reaffirm that vote and authorize us to fill this vacancy with the hire that we presented you. Commissioner Clark's already spoke about checks and balances. We've completed the hiring checklist that was implemented by you guys and submitted to the county with no issues. We would like to move forward with this and put this to bed and put it behind us.
So Commissioner Clark's, one of his concerns is, what's the new deputy gonna do since they're new, right?
Yeah, so that's,
Tell me a little bit about like, what happens in this first, I don't know, 4 to 6 months?
so that new deputy would start beginning of December, or end of November. At that point in time, they would begin that field training process. They would review policies, go through training, get qualified with their firearms and so forth. At that point in time, we would assign them with a deputy, where they would begin their field training. They would then attend the Maine Criminal Justice Academy. And one of the advantages by hiring that individual now and getting that process going is so that once they graduate the academy, it's not until Labor Day or something to that effect when that deputy would be able to be utilized on the road. It would be much sooner than that by virtue of being able to hire them now and begin that training ahead of the academy. So what that looks like today is, or what that looks like when they would first start, is policies being signed with a field training officer, begin that training, they'd attend the academy, and then they'd come back and they'd be able to be utilized on the road.
And, but if you're pulling somebody out now to go to the drug enforcement task force in January, how's it going to affect your staffing?
Yeah. So with the recent hire of Jordan Knapp in the patrol division, that keeps our staffing level status quo for the time being. So we are, with the removal of with the removal of an individual to be assigned to the drug task force and the hire of Dylan Pump from Franklin, what that would do is it would keep our staffing level status quo that we've been operating with for the last better part of probably 18 months. So it would not change how we operate things as far as operational efforts go. So it really would not have an impact or a detriment in comparison to how we've been operating at this point in time.
Do you consider the conditional offer that you have with Dylan?
Yep.
Is that who it is? Dylan. Something that if something wasn't working out, you could end the relationship.
Yeah, absolutely. So our conditional offers are the same. They're part and parcel with the same thing that every other agency offers. It's pretty cut and dry. It's a standard thing that's implemented by law enforcement agencies. What that offer allows us to do is that conditional offer allows us to begin that background process, go forward with having other requirements such as a psychological exam, a polygraph examination, the physical agility test, and the PT test, and so forth. And at any point during that time, we're able to rescind that offer for any reason up to the employer. And that offer also, with any individual, you also have by statute, as this commission is well aware, by statute, you also have a probationary period as well. So the offer that we extend really allows us to start that background process and the things that, in order to complete the things that are needed before we can ever bring an individual to you like we have today.
What's the time period for the probation period?
So with an individual, there's two different cases. With an individual that has already attended an academy, then it is 6 months from the date of hire. An individual that has not yet attended the academy, it is 1 year from the graduation of the academy. So an individual like Dylan, he would have a probationary period, presumably of about 18 months.
So the conditional offer, does that stipulate that you gotta pass the psychological, you gotta pass the poly, you gotta pass the physical agility, you gotta pass the,
Correct.
those are all in,
Yes, which this
Okay.
individual has done.
he has passed all of those?
He has passed the polygraph, the psychological, he has passed the PT, he has passed all of the pre-hire requirements in order to be,
Has he been
Attend the
accepted by the
main
academy for January?
he has, part of that process is we would hire him and submit his packet. So they won't, for the academy, I can't submit a packet without a notice of employment for them to reserve his spot on the academy
And if
roster.
they say we can't get him in January, we're gonna have to schedule him for July.
Then it's on it, if that's what the commission would want.
So you still employ him for 6 months waiting to get him in July academy?
At that point in time, I bring this conversation back to you and we would have that discussion, how you guys would like to proceed. There's a couple different avenues now with the conversations and knowing where the academy is. I'm very confident that we would be able to get him on that list, especially considering that he has already met all of the requirements in order to attend the academy. So there is nothing left on that list. He's passed the medical evaluation, psychological, polygraph, the physical agility test, and has done the background. So there is nothing that would prevent him from attending the academy. Now, if for whatever reason, if something dropped out of the sky and he was not able to attend, then that's a discussion that obviously we would come back and have with you, whether or not you'd want to complete his field training prior to attending the academy and employ him that way, as many other agencies have also done. And you can also utilize him on the road in that sense. So he is a workable and usable deputy, or we can, have that discussion about the probationary period. But there is nothing that locks us in. This is simply, again, you would have a probationary period of approximately 18 months.
So if he's ready for application to the academy, and he has met the conditions of the conditional offer, now the question is that do you want to hire him today and allow the sheriff's department to move the existing deputy to MDEA, I guess January 1st or whatever? And the status quo he's talking about is one deputy short. He's saying we're maintaining status quo. That's been a deputy short all year. That's what he's maintaining because he has a new deputy that isn't qualified to work.
So we're not going to detriment or going down from what we already are existing or what we're already operating with. So we're not going at a loss from what we have currently.
Yes, you will, because as of last meeting, we had you fully staffed. Now you're gonna take a deputy out, put him into the MDEA, and you don't have a certified deputy to replace him with. That's the issue, gentlemen.
That-
If you want him to go ahead, move a deputy out, and go one shot again for another 6 or 8 months, we'll vote for it.
The staff,
But if you don't, then we can hire this gentleman today, but the deputy doesn't get moved until this deputy, until the new deputy comes fully certified and is able to replace him.
All right, I'm gonna move to hire Dylan Pong Franklin for the position of patrol deputy at step A on the patrol union wage scale with a starting date effective November 29th, 2025.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. You want to take any action with regards to allowing the sheriff's department to move a deputy into MDEA January 1st? Or wait till the deputy is the new deputy is certified before they move?
my position on that is I would like, our position is we would like to move to the deputy to the main drug enforcement agency. And here's why. Is because, once again, it is although I understand what Commissioner Clark is saying, I understand where he's coming from. That's not lost on me, and it's not a wrong statement or a wrong position. I actually can appreciate that in some respects. What I would say is that we do believe that, this position is important, and we do want to assign a deputy there in order to have that stakeholder share and so forth. And it does take a period of time for that agent to acclimate and really become useful once they arrive at the main drug enforcement agency. And for us, if it was a matter of going down additional deputy from what we've been operating at for the last 18 months, I would agree with Commissioner Clark. But the reason I would like to move that agent there now, effective January 1st, is because it will maintain us at the same staffing levels that we've been operating at. And I feel comfortable that it's an operational decision, and that we can accomplish our missions at hand with the staffing levels that we have. So, with that being said, I would like to move an agent down there January 1st.
We haven't had a deputy in the agent, DEA task force now for over 2 years. All of a sudden, there's this urgency at the expense of the sheriff's department staffing. If you guys want to buy that, go ahead.
It's not like there's an urgency. It's
Is this-
a process that we've been working at for a long period of time.
Is it required for the commissioners to approve the transfer to the
No,
drug enforcement task force? Just curious.
it's
Seems like it's.
an assignment for the sheriff.
Correct.
Well, I'll still do a motion. Move to transfer a deputy January 1st to the drug enforcement task force.
I guess to,
Just a second, you have a second, or it's going to die. Is there a second to the motion?
I'll second that.
No discussion?
I guess to Commissioner Wambach's point, I'm not sure what the motion would really be covering if it's not something that the commissioners have to vote on.
You better not do it if we decide you should.
That's not what I'm saying. I'm
You
just
better
asking.
not do it if we vote.
That's not what I'm saying at all.
Go ahead, do it. Go ahead and do it. Do it whatever you want, whatever the commissioners vote, do whatever you want.
That's not what I'm saying at all, Commissioner Clark. I'm just saying, as Commissioner Wambacher stated, and you agreed, if it's not something that commissioners act on, I'm not sure why you're taking a vote or a motion. That's
We're
all.
going to, we're going to take action.
Any other discussion?
Is there any others? All those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I'm opposed. taking a 5-minute break.
I normally do that. I just did this time.
One now. Oh, okay. So where?
Yeah, that's actually done.
Yeah. Should be 9:01.
Nice job. I appreciate it. You do it properly. Oh. Okay then. Well, you try.
They do the same thing to me.
I like to fix things.
Yeah. Yeah.
Call back into session. We've removed agenda item 5. We go to the airport. Use is away. We have his monthly report.
Move to accept and file the report as presented.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Wants to hire somebody?
And move to approve the hire of Kevin Breyer of Ellsworth for the position of airport maintenance worker / aircraft rescue firefighter at step 8C effective November 15, 2025.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Move to approve the purchase and sales agreement. Aviation easement payment for parcel number 4 under the name of William J. Miller in the amount of $23,100 and to authorize the chair to sign this on behalf of Hancock County.
I'll second that.
Discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Emergency management, we have their monthly report.
I'll move to accept and file the monthly report as presented.
I'll second that.
Discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. We have a transfer, I think, some of the jail business, I think it's more appropriate than some of the maintenance business, but in any event, it's to transfer an employee from the jail to the maintenance department. What's your pleasure, John?
I'm gonna move to approve the transfer of Teresa Torrey from the Hancock County Jail to the Hancock County Facilities Department with the change from pay grade 9E to pay grade 5E and include the transfer of her vacation and sick time effective November 8th, 2025.
I'll second that.
Discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Maintenance department, we have his report. What's your pleasure?
Accept and file the monthly report as presented.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Thank you, gentlemen. Yes, the Hancock site update. Please report that our cooperative work with Elliott Jordan's and Sons has been done, and in my view, they actually have exceeded what we would expect from them regarding the terms of the purchase and sale agreement, which I understand is going to come before you in a little bit. And that gives my wholehearted endorsement. Item 2 here, the work to be completed is along with that work that they've done. We have performed a lot of work with some subcontractors to get the log cabin ready. So that is probably a couple of weeks out from being able to accommodate Mr. Sankey and his crew. Building C, as you know, we've moved some PA files out there. We have room for more. I'm talking with the jail now about a space. And, we have our way, we'll link up to our septic and have water and sewer there. Our water line ran beyond what we considered would be appropriate for the EOC, and now allows us to drop water at building C, D, and E all the way at the end. We finally get
So let me ask you a quick question about storing files and different things there. So like, on the security end of things, can that speak a little bit?
Yeah,
without
we-
getting
we-
into,
Our building has got a cipher lock on the main door, and the inside space that we created also has a key lock door. So you'd have to be able to get in and then also possess the key to get into that, of which there are only 2. And we have one that Dave has in the cabinet, and the DA has the other.
is there other down the road or whatever, has there been discussions of what we're gonna do monitoring wise in terms of cameras and
Yes,
such?
in fact, part of moving Andrew out there is to put 3 cameras out there, one that points it down towards the construction site, the other back towards the 3 buildings, and another camera that does the out back area as the beginning. But our plans include also swipe cards, so we know who's going where. And that includes building C when we get to that point.
That'll all start getting budgeted in?
Yes, in fact, it's part of what we have. When we do the prox card system at the EOC, we're gonna attempt to include the log cabin and at least 2 parts of building C along with that. Even if we just get the infrastructure laid, we can use already budgeted funds to pay for the installation.
Sorry to interrupt you.
No, no trouble. And we also have made inroads to try and clean the property up and get it ready for inspection and whatever use comes next for it. And that's what's on next for us this week, as a matter of fact. So we're very pleased with the way the site, not only the EOC project, but the site in general is going. The emergency operations center groundwork is underway. They've dug a hole and are moving that gravel off And the replacement gravel, like we understand, is gonna be tested for being put back in the place and, don't anticipate any troubles with that. We're looking forward to seeing some concrete in the ground, maybe next week or the week after which they can start building.
I forget what we're doing for plowing. Site.
We are going to, seek, the good wishes of Elliot Jordan for some of it, and we're gonna move our tractor out there so that when we get anything of significance. E.L. Shea is gonna take care of their construction project, so that will leave us to take care of the EMA and the other, out in front of the other buildings as required. So we're gonna, and I myself, I have a plow that I can use on an emergency basis to make sure that everything stays clear. We felt it was premature to put in the snow plow contract. We didn't know if we would be building there yet at that time when we put it out to bid, so those provisions have been made. And that's about where we are out there. I think we're sitting in a pretty good spot, and hopefully next week at this time, we'll get a lot of building going up a shelf. And
We have a transfer that needs to happen.
yeah, this is a transfer to close the account on our tower project, which monies were budgeted, moved and such, and when the dust settled, we owed this, so I'm requesting a transfer from our reserve account to close that gap.
I'm gonna move to approve the transfer of the amount of $21,860.66 from account G1 3011 to the maintenance building expense account E06-09, I'm sorry, -90-923, in the order to make the final payment for the SO construction project.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Yeah, just so you know, the actual transfer goes to the revenue account, the R06923, and then it's spent out of the matching expenditure account. But your transfer is okay. It's fine.
And you have a copy?
Yes.
Thank you, gentlemen. Lastly, requesting the early approval to hire Nicole Deffen of Lemoyne, for the airport facilities split position that is slated to begin in the new budget year, but we find ourselves in a rare opportunity where we have a great candidate that we're just really loath to lose, and miss it. To have this pass by would be a real missed opportunity on our part. And it gives us a chance, like catch up ball here and to do the training necessary to begin at the airport immediately. And so,
And it's gone through all the
yeah, Leroy's got the money. It's
checklists.
okay, we have the excess money in our payroll budget account. And Josh is,
I'm gonna move to approve the hire of Nicole Deffen from Lemoyne, Maine for the airport facilities split position at the starting rate of $18.76, grade 5, step C, with the effective hire date of November 15, 2025.
I'll second that.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
thank you, gentlemen.
We have a communication service report. What's your pleasure?
To accept and file the RCC monthly reports presented.
I'll second that.
Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Have a request from IT. Fire.
To approve the hire of Kernan Moncrief.
Kieran Moncrief.
Kernan Moncrief from Holden, Maine, for the full-time IT position at the starting rate of $60,000 per year with the effective hiring date of November 8th, 2025.
I'll second that.
Discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Hey, Chair, we have his monthly report.
I move to accept and file the Human Resources Monthly Report as presented.
I'll second that.
Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, so the first item I have this morning, gentlemen, is the approval of the 2026 health insurance buyout rates. And we had three different rates in front of you, the 35, the 40, and the 45%. And then we just need approval for one of those if we wish to.
The previous year was 35.
It was.
Do you have a recommendation?
Well, if you want my opinions, sir, I would say 40%, just because if we can keep pace with the increased cost of healthcare, we can help folks pay for those outside policies. Otherwise, they're going to have to come back to us, take our own county health insurance, which is just going to cost the taxpayer more.
I'm going to move to approve the 2026 employee health insurance buyout buy now policy based on 40% as presented.
I'll second that.
Well, by way of discussion, you understand what buyout really does. Then why isn't it 50%? Because if every employee takes a buyout, it saves us half the cost of the insurance premium. So I don't know why we have to do 40, 45. Because every time there's a buyout, it saves the county money. We're not offering a benefit to an employee at the expense of the taxpayer. We're actually saving. So I don't understand why there's a hesitancy. I just don't understand why, why aren't you recommending 50%? I mean, what's the downside of 40%, 50% as opposed to 40%?
Well, just like I argued, commissioners, when I brought this up in September, really up to 75%, you're still saving money towards the county. If this rate, just to give you a brief example, say 119 of our employees were on the family plan, you would have a cost to the county of $3.8 million. And a 40% buyout rate for all of those employees, you pay $1.6 million. So it's not a small difference. The number is massive when you're talking about 5, 10, 20 employees that are on this buyout. And obviously, the higher the buyout is, the more employees will think about that and look at outside insurances.
Well, and the problem is that we kind of shoot ourselves in the foot because we want our employees to have a good policy. And the problem is that as we meet that, it discourages the employee from going somewhere else because not a lot of people have good policies anymore. So, I mean,
Not everybody has the opportunity to take the buyout either.
Sure.
If the insurance is their own.
no, that's right. But I'm only saying when it's possible.
Yeah.
And of course, when it says possible, it means they have insurance, so they're not going without insurance just to take the buyout to. So I think it ought to be 50%. I would ask you to vote down the 40 and reapprove 50. I'm gonna call the vote on 40%. All in favor? Opposed? I'm opposed.
All right, I'll move to approve the 2026 employee health insurance buy down policy based on 50% as presented. That's 50% as presented.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, just to add to that real quick, commissioners, I didn't have that as a rate ready to be signed this morning, so I will have to bring a 50% policy for you to sign for the next commissioner's meeting. All right, and the last item I had, just to,
Excuse me, when was that going into effect anyways? Immediately upon signature or what?
these wouldn't take effect until the next payout date, which would be
Till
January
what?
1st. January 1st would be the next payout. Last item that I had to discuss this morning, Commissioner Clark, I know you've done a lot of work on meeting with department heads to talk about the 4-day work week, so I really just wanted to quickly gauge what the opinion was on the commissioners. Based on my meetings with the non-union department heads, it looks like 70% of those departments would like to move to a 4-day work week. And the most common shift that I'm seeing is a 6 to 4:30 shift with no change in courthouse hours. So those would stay the same.
Well, I think each department head is cognizant of the fact that they need, sufficient staffing and to keep their office open 5 days a week. And even the ones that have limited staff feel that they can pull that off. And so that is the test. I think the next year, if we start getting complaints that offices have to indiscriminately shut down because of lack of staffing, we'll have to revisit this. But in the meantime, if department heads can accommodate those who wish a 4-day work week and they want it, let's see if we can accommodate it.
What would the effective date be?
So I'm glad you brought that up. So the effective date would be November 8th, but another key point of discussion would be, especially since we have Veterans Day next week, any week that we have a holiday, we would have to revert to normal 8-hour workdays. Otherwise, with the holiday pay, you'd actually have departments going over the 40 hours. So any week where we have a holiday, those would be normal 8-hour days for that week.
Tell me that again, this going over 40 hours.
So for example, next week, if we had the 4-day work week active, and you had an individual work 10 days, with the inclusion of the holiday, you would go over that 40 hours for the work week, and then you would have to pay overtime as a result of working those 10-hour shifts. So the simple fix that I've discussed with Michael and other departments is just reverting back to normal 8-hour work shifts for any holiday week that contains the holiday.
Have you discussed this with the employees? I'm thinking about the employees, since I'm going to take every Thursday off, and I've scheduled childcare for every Thursday. Now, they're forced to have to work Thursday because Monday's a holiday.
I haven't discussed that with employees, sir, but really the ones that had childcare issues have already spoken their resistance to that policy, to this change.
I just have a question. It doesn't, I'm not saying you're not right about it, but it's just, I thought if, does holiday pay actually go towards the 40-hour measurement? Because to me, you're not really working.
It's not, excuse me, it's not actual work hours. So in other words, it doesn't, if you go with.
It's not time and a half.
No, it's not time and a half because it's only actual work time. But what he's saying is that they're already getting 40 in 4 days, and you could add
Yeah.
another 10 hours, and that's 50 hours.
Yeah,
And,
it's just not time and a half, it's time.
and if well, again, I mean, if the police say, yeah, I can do that.
Go for it, how you're saying, it's just. It doesn't cause too much of a. There's gotta be
Again,
things for sure.
if 6 or 9 months, we decide that this is not working with the majority of the departments, then we can always revisit this.
All right, I'm gonna move to approve the proposed change to section 12 hours of work, week, section 2 hours of work of the Hancock County personal policy as presented.
I'll second that.
Just a second. If an employee wants to take every Thursday off, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, okay? And Monday turns out to be a holiday. They're gonna work Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday. Get a benefit day for Monday. They're not gonna get 50 hours of work. Because one of those days is if they maintain their regular day off. Only time this would be a factor is if you had an employee says, I want every Monday off, and Monday turns out to be a holiday. They work Tuesdays and Friday, and they get the holiday pay, which is an extra benefit.
I just felt like there would be way too much confusion trying to figure out that schedule unless we reverted back to the late hour days during holidays.
You say confusion. I look at Michelle and say, how more confusing it would be. You have all the work people down in the sheriff's department, we used to have to decide that every day, so. I think we're making too big a deal out of weeks with holidays in it, because the chances of the holiday falling on an individual's day off would be minimal. And if it does, that's just the cost of the business, but it doesn't prohibit.
I think the problem is that that holiday is normally an 8-hour day, not a 10-hour day.
Well, that is the other problem too, because if your benefit talks about a day.
Yeah.
And you're now working 14 hours days, and the benefit for that day is gonna be 10 hours. Now, the problem is that policies don't say that now. They have to go back and review those to see if we have to update those, but it just stands to reason that if the policy says you get a day benefit, your day is a 10-hour day, you get a 10-hour benefit, so.
Same as
Well,
vacation.
it sounds like you're trading a day off for a different day off.
That's a pen.
It sounds like the discussion of changing it to 4, now you're working 5 days this week, you're only getting, you're trading a day off for a day off, you're not. Because you're changing working hours. I don't know if what I'm saying makes sense, but
Well, I know what you're
if
saying.
you have a 40-hour work week, and now you're spreading it out, now you're not really getting a day off per se. Or actually, you're not really getting a holiday, it doesn't appear, you're trading that holiday day off for another day places. Where your salary is based on your 40 hours, and if you're getting 10 hours of holiday or
That's
8 hours of holiday, it really, on a department that doesn't work around the clock, it seems like that's kind of, you're just trading hours.
Same with vacation. You can take a vacation day would now be 10.
If you force an employee to take the holiday as a day off, you're denying them the holiday benefit. You understand what I just said?
Same as with,
Vacation, then there's a holiday.
You get a benefit.
They do?
You get comp time, right?
same as with, like Dennis is saying, a vacation day now becomes a 10-hour vacation day instead of
I think those are some of the problems I saw in mind with trying to manage a 10-hour workday with holidays.
I think that you made a good point though, is if, so someone like myself, say I decided to do the 4 10s, my benefit day would be a 10-hour day. But somebody like in the DA's office, they're gonna still stay with 5 days a week, their benefit day would stay an 8-hour day.
I think that's a given. Problem I have is that if you're saying on a week we have a holiday, your day off will be that holiday. You deny that employee the holiday benefit because now that becomes simply their day off. They would have got the day off anyways. And so,
The thing is, the holiday pay, you could look at it as a cash thing that you get every year, like health benefits. So even if it's your day off, you still need that benefit. You still deserve that benefit because we're budgeting for so many holidays for everybody.
but the thing is, Sam, is that when you're in a department that doesn't have to fill, a day off.
the office is
It's
closed.
RCC, if you have dispatch that took the day off, they must fill that day off. So that's an added expense to the county. But if June takes a vacation day in the middle of the week, theoretically, there's a loss of productivity there, which June will make up. But it doesn't cost the county money because we paid her 4 days of work time and 1 day benefit time for a total of 5 days, which we pay her every week anyway. So that's the difference here. We're talking about non-union people, and I'm not sure that anybody we're talking about, well, maybe maintenance.
I would say if you're working, adopt a 10-hour schedule, the balance predicts that half the people will probably take Monday off, the other half will take Friday off. All the holidays land on Monday. Let's say that week, the person on the 10-hour shift takes Tuesday off instead, and it's equal.
Well, we don't know,
Technically-
we don't know that. We don't know what our employees are gonna choose for a day off.
Sure, but once you do, you can make that decision pretty easily.
But technically, if a holiday falls on your regular day off, it's comp time earned. You get the
Comp
benefit.
time we don't get, but
Well, you gotta be.
we
you
get
gotta
credit
the
for the
benefit.
hours.
You gotta get that benefit. You can't just deny it because it's a regular day off, so.
So my logic says if you typically work a 4-day week and a holiday falls in that week you work a 3-day week. And if you work a 5-day week and that holiday falls in that week, you work a 4-day week. It's the only, logic predicts it's the only way it will work.
All over the details here. Get this part worked out before we do it.
Well, I'm not sure how we work it out, I'll discuss it.
Yeah, each department's gonna be different. Each
Could you-
individual might be different.
Could you leave it up to manager's discretion?
I'm concerned that the manager tells his employees, you must take the holidays your regular day off. Because that is denying the employee's holiday benefit. Now, if the employee willingly says, I'm gonna take the holidays, my regular day off, and I'll work my regular 4-day, 10-hour shifts, then that's one thing. But,
And they should get paid 50 hours.
well, they should get that holiday benefit.
Yeah, great. I didn't budget for that.
Well, your janitorial staff is not going to have.
Probably not. It's not
You can't
feasible
afford
for us to do that.
You can't-
But if, for example, if they did, I predict you'd have half taking Monday, half taking
Are
Friday.
you going to let them? I mean, it should be the ultimate discretion of the department head of whether or not it's feasible to do that. And of
Well, no, because we can't get the work done.
course,
It's
not.
just,
I mean, you can't have offices not getting cleaned one day.
and this, we've had this discussion to pretty extreme lengths and decided that even beyond that since Dave, me, John might be able to take advantage of it, we're not going to because it's all for one, one for all, is the way we view it. But yeah, I could see Deeds doing something like that though. Yeah,
Hello,
Are you here because you're listening to the discussion?
yeah, I'm sure, yeah.
I'm trying not to. It's very painful. I think you're making it way too hard.
You're talking about the holiday compensation.
Yes. I mean, we've done it before. When it's a holiday, we work 8-hour days. I mean, but we all know how to do the math, so we can adjust it, so.
I think that's the simplest way. That way you're not denying anyone their holiday pay, they're getting it just as they would right now.
So the statement should be on a week when there's a holiday, the regular schedule is followed, the regular 8-hour work days are followed.
Correct.
And there are what, 10 of those, throughout the year, so. They just 10 times a year when their weekly schedule would not be a 10-hour day schedule.
That seems, and I know you were concerned about like somebody who has childcare or whatever, but like, we know, everybody knows the holidays, it's not like something that's come out sarcasm. So. To me, I think you're right, that's just what we could do. That stuff, forget about that.
Well, then what you're saying is that for any week has a holiday, nobody gets a 10-hour day, everybody works an 8-hour day.
Right.
Okay, I've been a full motion, let's do it again, try.
Yeah.
Well, I don't have a motion, I mean, this,
There is a motion.
There are.
There's a motion,
Yeah.
it's just that you changed the personnel policy.
what's the motion on the floor?
To approve, change of section 12. Hours to work week, section 2, hours of work of the Hancock County personnel policy.
What does that policy right now say that any work week that has a holiday in it, everybody reverts to 8 hours?
We would have to go back and add that in after the discussion. We made today.
So we should. We're approving a policy that's still gonna be amended.
I think you're approving the process to go through with it, and then you could change and amend the policy to come back for you guys to sign it.
Well, we're approving the policy, right? But
Yeah.
the policy isn't,
The way that he was presenting it was you all, so you
policy isn't correct.
have to make it. To have it be clear in theory. yes.
To amend.
Okay, I think you should withdraw your motion to your second.
All right, I'll withdraw my motion.
You withdraw your second.
I'll second it.
Withdraw your second. In other words, you gotta go back and write this whole thing.
Okay, so if the policy is laid out just as we discussed today, we don't need any more changes to it.
Do you have a faculty meeting, Michael, before our next meeting, by chance?
We go.
Saturday?
Yeah, I think it's week up, but it's after that, so Thursday, yeah, so I don't agree.
I'd like to see, it might not even be the department, it might be the employees, if they understand what we're doing. That it's possible.
Well, I mean, I can reach out to the department heads and have them explain it, but it, I mean, like anything, it's only, it's how each department head would basically convey it to their employees, so, and how each one of us understands it, so.
Bring us something next meeting.
Thank you, gentlemen.
We have bills and warrants.
To accept and approve the monthly bills and warrants as presented.
I'll second that.
Discussion, hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Have included, as part of the packet today, summaries for Fund 1 and Fund 2. And I think more importantly, for Fund 4 for the jail, which is my biggest concern. I mean, getting through the next 6 or 7 weeks is going to be tough.
You need action from us.
Well, I don't know, I mean, we need to have further discussion on, which way to go with Fund 4. their balance, the bank balance today, I checked it this morning, is enough to cover one more payroll and one more AP warrant, I would say. Therefore, we have,
But you haven't transferred the opioid funds, right?
no, I still have not, and we also have not, which I think I don't know if I need commissioner approval for that transfer. I can come up with a transfer for next time, but it's actually part of the budget, so I think I can just make that transfer.
Well, I mean, I think that becomes the question whether it is part of the budget, because that's been, I think, part of the discussion that came up with the BAC when they were reviewing it as well, because you're not technically approving, if I understand it, Department 24 expenses, you're just approving. So like next year, you haven't really, it's in the budget for Department 24, but you haven't really reviewed and approved that budget yet. And the BAC hasn't either, because you'd have to approve transferring those funds from the opioid account to the account where it would then be spent towards or from, I guess, really. So, I mean, I would suggest that you would, you know, like any other transfer, you'd have to do the actual transfer. And I think as part of the presentation has been, you've kind of said, well, if we don't need to use that money, we're not going to use that money. So again, I mean,
We got to the point of where we do need it.
do need it, because even though you budgeted even more above this year, so I mean, their monthly allotments were based on the additional money that you in the VAC agreed to receive last year. It's still not enough.
Well, I think it's a given that we're gonna transfer that 130. Yeah, we don't have any choice there. I mean,
I can.
without getting into this discussion of whether there's any opioid funds for 26, I'm just saying that we have approved budgeting 130, we should move that
I can bring a transfer sheet for the next time.
for the opioid funds.
Yes, just to make it official.
I don't see how under any circumstances we could spend money out of G account to transfer, so.
And also, I'm waiting for the state payment of the second quarter funds. Which will help a little bit. I think it's about another 130,000 or so.
You said we anticipate 150,000 shortfall in payroll. What about the entire budget?
Well, I don't know what we do.
No, but I mean, you have a number for you. That's just- that's-
Yep, for the warrants.
Tim, anytime, jump in.
Another thing, we haven't received Fed payments the last month because of the government shutdown. That's also on hold through, it's not, you know, around 12, 15,000 each month. The remainder of the year we should be getting, but we won't get those funds until the government opens back up.
What?
But no matter when we get it, it'll be applied to this
But we
year.
have been receiving.
Yeah, but they're not, we won't be receiving them here. We shouldn't really receive October, we probably won't receive October's for a bit, or September, probably receive September's.
We have any unanticipated voting revenue?
Probably last month we did around 29,000, and hope we'll do that for next.
Is that
months
any of
also.
that unanticipated, or is that budgeted?
No, the Andrew, what we're doing now wasn't in our budget, was not part of our revenue, that just came up above last month. So that wasn't anticipated in our
How
budget.
much unanticipated revenue do you anticipate getting by December 31st or for this year?
Probably 40, maybe 40 grand, between 30 and 40,000.
You factored that in, Monica, to your projections?
No. I hate being in a position of scrounging for funds. We haven't even hit the expense warrants for November and December, and that'll probably be about 200,000.
In addition to the payroll?
Yes,
For 150 in the hole with payroll, or 350 in the hole with all expenses?
Right.
By December 31st?
right. This is what happened last year as well.
How do we bail out of that?
Well, we transferred funds from the general fund, from interest in the general fund. I think it was to the tune of 350,000.
Are we able to do that again this year if we have to?
If you so
I mean,
choose,
the funds are there.
yes.
There's really no action we need to take. We just need to continue to watch it at some point.
I just wanted to make everybody aware.
I think from my standpoint, the only concern is this is a habitual repetitive thing. Again, it's not, I'm not casting anything on anybody. It's just a matter of every year we find ourselves in the spot. So do we have to get, I guess, going forward, so we're not in the last 2 months trying to figure out where we're gonna take money from? Do we need to get more aggressive earlier on in the year, knowing that this happens every year?
When you say, like how, like,
Well, I mean, like, basically you have two ways. Either you gotta get more money in, so you gotta basically say, Tim, go get people, or whatever it is, you know. Or you say, you know what, we've gotta start putting a spending cap on you, and we're anticipating you're only gonna be able to meet 80% of what you budgeted for, so you're gonna have to reduce your expenditures however you can. I mean,
I can almost hear Tim's response.
oh, I know the response,
Are
but
you wasting 20% of your budget, Tim?
I believe so.
But the reality is, we don't have it, so, I
Right.
mean, either you've got to then go back, so Department 24, when you review your budgets next year, you have to come in and say, you know what, we know right now that we're not gonna make it at what I'm giving you for budget, so now I've gotta increase that in terms of expenditures, and then you're gonna have to go back to the taxpayers and ask for that money more upfront and actually have it be a meaningful budget.
Well, we did that. We thumbed our nose at the tax cap, overspent, correct?
This year.
This year, 25,
25, yes.
but we didn't do it in 26.
No,
Maybe we should revisit the jail budget and do that. If we think we're gonna be another $350,000-$400,000 in the hole till next November 1st, then
The only question you're gonna have with that is it wasn't before the VAC, so the VAC hadn't voted to. I mean, you basically got what the VAC voted, which was the same thing.
it's an action we took after we got their advice, which is something we do every year with the whole budget. We're gonna do that perhaps today.
But it's an exceedance. I mean, that would be the argument. It's an exceedance of the statute, so
Stevens, what statute?
state funding.
Oh, yeah,
For the
no, I'm
tax
saying
cap.
we're gonna consciously, violate that. But if they're not, would be reasonable of how that tax cap is funded, then we would have to.
But are you saying that your belief is that if the PAC didn't approve us to,
I'm gonna say that that issue will certainly be brought up and could be used as a challenge, I would say, but it's not something that, I mean, it's, again, it's not well, it's damned if you do, damned if you don't kind of scenario that you've had, so.
I think this is another case of where we have finance data today that we didn't have 2 months ago. We gave them the jail budget approved. So that's just the way that it works. We don't know in August, 1st September, what our numbers gonna look like into December, so.
right before we're about to do the budget, if we don't fix it for next year, we're just.
We're gonna be sitting here a year from now and whatnot, having the same discussion.
unless Tim can find any other ways to make cuts in the expenditure budget.
We've done a real good job.
We changed vendors in the kitchen, purchasing of food, we've tried everything to try to save funds. Not filling positions that were vacant today, sadly, not filling that for the end of the year.
Changing vendors and not hiring. you're paying overtime and I don't see any reduction in the,
That's what my question was. If you're paying time and a half for a vacancy, it's costing you money.
That's a conversation I'm having with Josh today, he doesn't know what's coming. But, conversation I'm having today, about our employee overtime issues, so.
I don't
And that
mean,
is, overtime is a mess. It's just, it's,
and I don't mean to be so blunt either, but it's a reality.
and I drafted a memo on the jail, and it's created a little bit of controversy. My planning to address this, and so I'm gonna bring it to HR, have a conversation today.
So, for now, if you want, I can keep you apprised each week of how the balances are looking, and hopefully that second quarter state payment will come in. And,
Is it necessary to transfer the 130 from opioid for the next meeting?
it may be,
But you don't have a transfer.
I don't, I should have had.
So Molly, if the second quarter comes and transfer the opioid, how do you think you?
Still gonna be close. Still gonna be close,
And I'll reach out to them today and ask them, they give me an idea when that second quarter's coming.
Yep.
Because all reports are completed, everything is,
they
to
wanna
the
send
standards they have it, so,
Q3 and Q4 right away too.
okay?
We can,
But then that cuts us short again in
we can
January.
technically move to approve 130,000 from opioid fund by transfer, even if you don't have the transfer in front of us, and it's signed at its later date. Correct? Michael?
The only issue would be is it's not on the agenda, I guess, so that, I mean, you haven't changed it, you haven't really put it up.
Well, I think there might be other things here that aren't on the agenda, but it falls under the shortfall and.
If you wanna say that, you know, if you wanna approve the transfer, then I can bring you a transfer sheet at the next meeting to sign.
And if we approve it today, you can transfer it before you get to sign, right? Hey, where's the transfer, please? I mean,
Yeah.
No, I mean, ultimately, it's gonna fall back on, obviously, Monica as the treasurer, I mean, she knows your intent, and that's not going to change, but.
That's fine.
I think it's more than a intent, I think it's action.
I do see that, I did do some math, I found my sheet here. By the end of the year, with the, Q2 state payment and with the National Opioids Fund being moved, we probably will still fall about $100,000 short at the end of the year.
We can fund that.
Everything is very tight, cutting it close, but I'm trying to keep an eye on it every week. If they can continue to keep their expenditures down for the end of the year, they're aware.
So I think a motion is in order to approve $130,000 from the opioid fund for David.
G 1/30/21-37.
Say it one more time.
G 1/30/21-37. The opioids,
That's the opioids account.
yes.
And where are we moving it to?
To the jail revenue account. Jail reserve transfer account R 24-900.
I'm gonna move to transfer $100,000 from the
One
G
thirty.
1-30-
Be 130.
130.
Oh, sorry. I'm gonna move to transfer $130,000 from the G 1-30-37 opioid account to the jail reserve account R 24-900.
I'll second that.
By way of discussion, just for the record, that won't be ready for signature today, but you'll have it ready for the next meeting.
And just for clarification, it's G1-3021
Oh.
-37.
Sorry.
Thank you,
And you'll move that before you get your written authorization.
most likely.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Recommendations from the Budget Advisory Committee on taking the action.
Fourteen A first. Yes,
And
citizen 14A first, the escrow.
The escrow fund.
oh, I'm sorry. I thought we were still-
I'm going to move to release the escrow funds to Elliott Jordan Sons Inc. in the amount of $400,000 in accordance with the escrow release as presented and to be signed by the commission.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Are we now ready to move into? You have the recommendations made by the Budget Advisory Committee. You want to make any changes in those recommendations or accept those as they were submitted?
The only thing that was up to me, we've already promised it, so I'm not going to say it or do it, but the 7.5% was a mistake. Should have been probably more than 5. But we made a promise to people that we were going to, that we'd hold off on entertaining the other races. So I feel like we're already committed to it. Yep. I mean, that's the only thing I see. Stake on the budget. I supported it at the time, so I can't really go anywhere by myself.
Have any comments on the budget?
Just throw in one thought, just so we know, but there is going to be a vote by the union in terms of whether or not they continue with their existing one or they start with another. And we had talked about whether we're gonna have a negotiator or not. If we do that, we didn't budget any funds in there to pay for that group. So that's another consideration. And just in terms of the budget process today as well, in theory, well, not in theory, hopefully you can approve the informational session at the next meeting where there'll be a discussion, opportunity for people to come in and talk about the BAC budget. So if you have changes or things that you want to consider or other things you want us to look into, you still have a couple weeks before we kind of need that final version to prepare and present to you on the first meeting in December. So you do have a little bit of time to think about this stuff too, so.
So for today, they're really just accepting what the,
Well,
what the BAC has.
In theory, you wouldn't have to take any action. I mean, it just says that you're going to review and then, or that the BAC has to submit their budget back to you within so many days before the start, which they've met that criteria. You just have to have the public informational session at least 30 days before the start of the new fiscal year. And then you have to adopt a final budget within the 15 days before the start of the actual new fiscal year or calendar year in this case. But so, I mean, those are basically the timetables. So you, in theory, wouldn't have to take, you can acknowledge the receipt of it and indicate you're going to look at any future changes or possible changes before you make final changes to have prepared and presented for that first meeting in December. So much like, I guess, we do with the public hearing, you don't take final action on the commissioner's budget until they've had the public hearing opportunity for you to hear from the public. In this case, that'd be very similar. If anybody did show up and have comments or on the BAC budget, that would be an opportunity before you make any final changes as well, especially if there were comments based on the BAC budget at that time. I'm not saying you can't take action right now either. I mean, that makes it easier on Monica and me because we just put it together and it's there, but I'm just saying you're not, time-wise, not committed at this point to have to make final decisions today.
Do you have any idea what, if we were gonna budget, on the,
Yeah.
have
Well, I mean, a lot of that depends on negotiations, but I mean, honestly, I think you're talking 5 to 10,000, probably closer to 10 than you are to 5. A lot of that depends on line. Certainly a lot more than we're spending right now, so
to come out of our legal? Or
that would basically come out.
If you have any comment on the cost of living change we made. 7.5. I know we got brought up the BAC meeting too.
It's very unfair. We told the employees, we are not going to entertain personal requests for increases in your wages until we get this study by a consultant in 26 to effect 27. But in exchange for denying you the opportunity to request an increase, we're going to give everybody 7.5 for 26. And that may not be as much as you want. It wasn't. Some of these were 15% increases, but it's at least it's in exchange for denying them the opportunity. Now in the 11th hour, we're saying, well, we're still not going to give you a chance to deny it, but we're going to drop it back to 5%. You're not going to get the 7. How is that fair? I mean, I'm the cheerleader on this outfit for reducing this budget. When we did critical review, whatnot, I had over 20 suggestions for reducing this. You had one, you didn't have any. So, I mean, I'm in favor of keeping this budget as low as I can. But I think an agreement is an agreement we made with them. And this discussion should have been had 6 weeks ago, not today.
Yeah.
Well, if you have any suggestions for Michael and Monica for altering the budget from the BAC recommendations, then you need to get your comments to Michael before the next meeting. So at the next meeting, you present us with a budget that should be pretty close to what we approved by December 15th.
I don't know how to extend the discussion, but I do believe that Department 24, and it's not a part of the BAC discussion, but 24 and 11 needs to be reviewed. And if we can do that at the next meeting and try to make recommendations, I don't know what changes can be made. That's, you know.
All we could do, let me say all, one of the things we could do is simply vote to increase the tax cap, correct?
For 2026, yeah.
For 26.
Michael, is that?
Well, I mean, the commissioners would, I guess, again, the question is whether or not the requirement of the BAC is a legal necessity. They are advisory, so, but I don't have that legal answer for you right now, so.
History has shown that once we got the budget back from the BAC, we have we have altered that budget just about every year, for one reason or another. As Michael said, most of them are planning to come down, but, I don't think that precludes us from not going up. That's my personal opinion. I agree with Monica. I don't want to be sitting here a year from now, when we're faced with the same discussion about shortfall in the budget, because the jail budget's not really bad. There's nothing in the horizon that's going to improve that situation.
Well, the state keeps going down. The state funding keeps going down, that's not helping any. And obviously, we can't keep relying on national opioids funds to help fill that gap as well.
Well, I mean, we as commissioners really haven't had that discussion yet, but my personal opinion is that we have highest percentage of drug offenders in that jail. I mean, that's I say that, you know, a certain amount of those funds is appropriate in jail because that's where the drug offenders are. I mean, alcohol and drug offense is 90% of a jail, right, Tim?
A lot of them have some addiction issues.
So, I mean, spending opioid funds on treatment in the jail, I think is absolutely, I agree with Courtney that we need to reserve funds for the general public, but we are. When you spend $500,000 in the jail, $500,000 for the general public, I think that's, to me, that's a reasonable distribution of those funds. So, but that's a discussion perhaps, you know, giving Courtney and others the opportunity to chime in on that, but as I understand it right now, there's an opioid committee being developed, is that correct?
So we're basically collecting the information as you instructed, to come back to you with kind of some data showing what committees have been formed, what the composition of those committees look like, the application processes that are being used in other even local or adjacent counties as well. So basically, the plan is come back to you and give you all this information and then have you instruct, again, me and the rest of us in terms of how you want to move forward, which could be actually having, you know, names put forth for your consideration to have them be, you know, put forward on a committee and all that. So I mean, the first thing would be forming a committee, obviously, and developing some guidelines regarding that. And then it would be you establishing people for that. And then you have an application process for the funds and review process and approval process. So that it's a lot of different working pieces there, but I have been working with Courtney to try to collect all that data, kind of decipher it, water it down to the point that we can come back and present something to you for consideration. And that's where we're at the moment.
We've tapped into that for 200,000 in 2016,
We asked, I think they agreed to 350, right?
350, 350.
Is that right, Monica? Was it 350? Opioid funds was in the budget for 26.
For 26, it's 300 and 368,
Yeah, 368, yes.
368,
Yeah, because there was an increase to the
almost 369.
that was to cover the,
increase in medical.
It's closer to 369.
that was to cover the shortfall, so we didn't have to increase the tax cap.
Correct.
Yeah,
And that's the main, I want to know, that's the main reason that I'm looking to use this, is because I know taxpayers, I mean, they don't try to reduce, you know, $360,000 cost of the taxpayers we're using. And it's justified why we use them, as we know, we have documentation that we're using them properly.
Okay, well, that's a discussion we'll have when we get that information.
Go over the cap, how does that increase the revenue through taxation?
Well, it just adds to the amount raised by taxation.
But how do you, so, but how do you know that without you budgeting, how much you think it's gonna be, or do you do that?
You basically fix the number of the tax cap you think covers your anticipated cost. That becomes the amount raised by taxation. When you use it, or you overspend it, Has nothing to do with how much you anticipated tax. So your budgeted taxes is set by budget. So if we add
400,000.
we add 400,000 to that tax cap, that will become money we raise by taxation.
When you're looking at more like, I'm just really roughly trying, it looks more like a 12.1% increase instead of the 9.1 that's in there, 12.2% increase
By
Just-
adding 400,000,
to the cap. That's just really rough.
so every 130 is a point, something like that.
That's that gap.
That's the discussion we need to have next meeting. So, Michael, what's the date for the informational meeting?
So the next special meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, I believe it's the 18th. That's what we've advertised, and at the very beginning of your next commissioner's special meeting is one that would be held.
And that's the last time we have a regular meeting, we can schedule it, correct? You say
Yeah, during-
30 days?
So it would have to be 30 days, so you'd have to do
30 days before the end of the year?
before the end of the year, so.
So it would have to be on the 18th.
Because next week you're getting into Thanksgiving week after that and all those other.
So you don't need a motion so much as it
No,
just,
it's just a general consensus that you agree with that.
you don't really have any choice, it's gotta be done then, or we have to set a special date. By general consensus, gentlemen, we have an informational meeting on the 18th on the PAC recommendation for our meeting, right, essentially, right? For our meeting.
Well, it's right at 8:30, so it'll be like the first item on your.
It'll be right after the approval, and then after we'll have that information. Anything further? County Commissioners' comments?
Just that I had received some feedback on the Christmas Eve issue that we had mentioned last time. So far, the majority have indicated that if their employees want to use their time, that, you know, the department heads, they're okay with that. They understand, and really, so far, I think only one has kind of indicated, yeah, we agree that the commissioners could close early and agree to pay us for that, but beyond that, the majority are understanding that it's not like it's an official holiday or anything else, so the expectation is if you decided to do that, that employees, if they wanted to leave early, would have to use their own time. The only thing that's a little bit hazy here, I think, is whether or not the commissioners just say, you know what, we're gonna close county offices at noon on that day, and then, you know, each individual person figures it out from there, or whether you say, we're not gonna close it specifically, but each department figures it out, but if you do that, then by default, the department head or somebody's gonna end up having to stay, so it kind of defeats the purpose of, in my opinion, of closing the office, but because somebody's gonna have to be here.
I don't see an issue of closing it at noon time, because if we don't pay, if we don't pay the employees, but if we pay the employees, then we have an issue with pilots that can't leave. And, but Dennis,
Courts are leaving at 2.
what's it closing Christmas Eve at 2?
That's what it is today.
That's what I'm saying.
That-
There
I
is
was
no
just gonna
way.
say, because last year, they didn't work the day before or the day after.
Right.
They're not working the day after.
Yeah.
I'll
As
be,
of today, Terry says 2 o'clock.
I'll be shocked.
Yeah, just
They've been
information.
closed on Christmas Eve.
They what, Cheryl?
The prosecutors never work on Christmas Eve. They're always closed on Christmas Eve. The full day.
For a full day? The question is, gentlemen, I don't think there's a question that we're not gonna want to pay them for that half day. The question is whether or not you want to approve shutting county offices down at noon time or 2 o'clock or whatever. On Christmas Eve, what do you want to do? What they always done before.
Worked,
Working.
Work and left to discretion.
right, but I mean, but that is what it is.
Someone from Idaho would have to be here.
anyway, so.
That's
Till the courts.
If we don't close the courthouse, then it's simply a matter between the department head and their employees on who they're gonna grant benefit time off. That's it's not for us to even consider. The only consideration is now we close the courthouse. Close the county offices. Sometime before 4 o'clock on New Year's Eve.
I said, no. Just do it as how you've always done it. Change.
What did you just say?
He says keep it open.
Keep it open.
Keep it open. If the department head wants to give their employees time off, that's between them and the association. Warehouse is open. The county offices are open until 4 o'clock. That's what John's saying.
You're saying it should say that.
When's Home Depot closed? You're still closing earlier, right? Just throwing that out there, not to be a jerk, I'm just throwing that out there.
I always ask off that week, so
Even
he's
the
on
private sector
vacation.
gets
I
it.
always use my vacation to be off. So,
Yeah, but if you don't close the courthouse and somebody has to stay in every department,
That would be the.
but that's what I'm saying, that's what you're saying.
I think.
I'm confused why we're even talking about it. Why are we trying to change it?
Just because somebody asked. Well, the good thing is you don't need to make this decision tonight or today either, so.
We, what's 2 weeks ago?
It's just gonna give you more time to think of reasons not to.
Maybe we'll get spooked by. It goes to the night. Let's see, John, get these poor people half day off. Why you
So I mean, one notice we give them, the time they have. Right?
What do you want to do?
Sure, what I wanna do?
Yeah.
I'm not working Christmas Eve.
I think you should have an emergency meeting that day.
I think we ought to compromise, close at 2 o'clock. Close the county offices at 2 o'clock, consistent with the courts. And employees will have to use their benefit time for the last 2 hours or whatever. That's my motion. We close it, the county offices will close December 24th at 2 p.m. And employees who want to compensate will have to use their personal benefit.
Seconded.
Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anything else, Michael?
No, that's it, thank you.
Commissioner, 70 comments? Hearing none.
I second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.